So another one of my alters, as you would have recognised, realised, witnessed, is the genius. The genius. What's the genius all about? The genius has manifested through the years when I found it ever increasingly more difficult to find people to be able to speak with on my level. And what is my level? Well, my level, of course, deeply studying the supernatural, the spiritual, psychological and the philosophical and the religious for this past 16 years on a constant basis. If I was at university, I would have earned 6 PhDs by now. And so I've learnt a lot of stuff, people, and I've done a lot of stuff. I've travelled extensively, and I've been through all different sorts of bureaucracies and institutions, organisations. I've met a lot of people, and I'm a bit of a wise old stick, to be quite fair with these people. And so throughout these years, with my requests for people to come to talk, well, in the early days, there were loads of people, because the conversation was much more mundane. Now the conversation is pretty far out. It's out there, to be quite frank and honest with you people, as you're well aware. And if you haven't experienced all these different sorts of wacky things, then you don't know where to begin, do you? And it's like Robert Falconer, who does this internal family systems psychology therapy, and wrote, a load of books and shit like that. And he does exorcisms, believe it or not. But these things happen. Entities do take possession, and they are a thing. And he speaks about the porous mind, and how psychedelics open up your consciousness. Well, we all know that. He calls it porous mind. You can call it an extended consciousness, an expanded consciousness, an awakened consciousness, an enlightened consciousness. Call it whatever you want, any of these labels. But when you have a vast amount of experience, then you have a vast amount of knowledge. And so for me to get people to speak to me about these things, well, they feel mostly intimidated and not able to do that. The skill of articulation is, it's a skill, and some people are, gifted initially to be able to string a few sentences together and have a mind that just keeps feeding them, because many minds, that they come to pauses and impasses all the time, and they can't continue. But minds like mine, and like Jordan Peterson's, Bernardo Castro's, people like that, they can just keep talking and talking and talking and talking forever, because there's just an enormous amount of information which is just lined up in a whole array of neuronal systems, just lined up waiting, whereas many people's brains don't work like that. So when people's brains work fast and they're very articulate, and they can rapid fire conversation, and they can retrieve information from tangential arenas, just to bring it in and instantiate or substantiate whatever it is you're saying. Russell Brand, he's a master. He is the master. He is the master. You listen to Russell Brand, he goes into overdrive. When he's going into overdrive and he can barely catch his breath because his mind is working so fast and his articulation is so perfect, and when he's reading, he never misses a single word or never gets muddled up. His brain is working super fast. And so, most certainly he has a genius mind. And so what do I do? Well, now that we've got down here, we've got this dude who's a long way from home, and I don't know what he thinks he's doing here, but now he thinks he's getting a bit worried because he thinks he's being attacked by a bird. But I'm going to do the right thing with this little dude, and going to put him in some moist grass so he can tuck himself in there and continue his existence. Now, there's many a day that I'm walking down here and I will see a snail. Made it part way over the path. The sun's up, the ground's too hot and dry, it ain't gonna make it, so it goes into its hibernation thing. And I'm thinking, well, it's only a matter of time before it gets trod on or a bird comes down, so I pick it up and I put it in the bushes. And I do this with any little creature, bug or slug or anything like that, caterpillar that's struggling, so help them along their way. Why do I do that? I don't know, I just do that because I love nature. So yeah, the genius, increasingly not being able to find anyone to speak with. And even people who think that they are pretty versed in certain subject matter, it pretty quickly dries up. And so that's what I'm up against. And so then Supercilious comes in and starts to bluster. Are you all stupid? Are you all dumb? You've been watching me for fucking 16 years, some of you. Have you not fucking learnt anything? Can't you string a few fucking sentences together? Are you all muppets? Yes, that's what Supercilious does. Supercilious is jousting. And he's saying, well, if you think you're so great, if you think you know more than the awake and brave, or if you think you could hold your own against the awake and brave, well, come on then. This is the challenge of the century. Come on, let's see what metal you're made of. It should be a TV program. Who wants to challenge the awake and brave? And then probably you get knobs like that Professor Dave. He's a complete and fucking utter knob. Well, I wonder if he is really a complete and utter knob, or whether he's just playing a game. You know, but this Professor Dave, he rips new arseholes in people that he doesn't like. And invariably it's people who are outside of his fraternity. He seems to relish and have the deepest of respect for the scientific fraternity. And I was watching a discussion on Piers Morgan, who I detest, by the way, that smarmy little smackable gob of his, little fucking nonce he was when he was at school. Everybody used to come on his fucking face and steal his packed lunch, that's for sure. But now he's got his stupid idiot fucking show, and he had on Sean Carroll and Eric Weinstein, because Eric Weinstein and Sean Carroll have been at loggerheads with each other. Sean Carroll is this professor of physics and quantum physics and shit like that at I think Princeton University. And Eric Weinstein isn't a professor, he doesn't even practice physics, but he's got a lot to say about stuff, and he seems to be very, very comfortable in his own genius. And so anyway, Piers Morgan brought them together to have a shit flinging contest. And at least they did it, you know, at least they did it. If they were bad-mouthing each other, at least they had the balls then to confront each other on a show and a video which would be hanging around for fucking years and years. So they were prepared to do that. They were prepared to put their professional integrity on the line and have their intellect matched and compromised and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so if Professor Dave had a go at me, then he'd be calling me a pseudo-intellect, a wishy-washy fake guru, someone that's got his head in the clouds and coming up with all different sorts of unprovable nonsense and this, that and the other. But that's where he's coming from, you see. He's coming from this silly scientific realm where things are supposed to be provable. But the fact of it is, none of that shit that they're dealing with is provable. It's all fucking hypothesis, and that's why all of these equations and fucking things, even like Einstein's general theory of relativity, well, it's in the title, theory of relativity, and then the theory of relativity as well as the general theory, and then, you know, quantum theory and any other fucking theory. It's all theories, people. There's no fucking facts, because there is no fucking facts. Facts just a stupid concept that's invented by the human being, because we're so desperately fumbling in the dark in this mire, trying to create a fucking reality out of a fiction and out of a delusional state. There's no fucking physical matter here. And even if people think that there is physical matter, well, what is it? Oh, that's a tree, Aaron. Everybody knows it's a tree. What's a tree? A tree. That's a tree, Aaron. Well, what is it in fucking Somali? What is it in Kadesh? What is it in fucking Russian? What is it in... how many languages are there on the fucking world? Fucking thousands. What is it in all those? Just... Is it that? People seem to think it's a or it's a or it's a is it any of those? No, it's not, is it? So what is it? You haven't got a fucking clue what it is. Nobody's got a fucking clue what it is. And then they'll start to talk about the chemical, biological and physical, so-called physical attributes, and they'll be saying things like hard and wood and molecules and atoms. Whoa, those things, just fucking names, just concepts, nothing, people, nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. So if Professor Cunting Dave wants to come and have a go at me, well, I'll rip a new fucking arsehole in an instant. And I'll fucking turn it right back round on him with all his bullshit, his fucking fantasising and his indoctrination and all the rest of the shit. Fucking hell, he'll be fucking crawling away on his hands and knees, begging for his mummy by the time I've fucking dealt with him. Cunt. Yeah, so the genius. Well, I'm always saying to you people, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Just come and have a chat and prove to me that all this stuff I've been talking about is just a crock of shit. Well, the fact of it is, nothing could be disproved. Because what I'm speaking about the metaphysical, I'm speaking about the philosophical, I'm speaking about the spiritual. And so these things can't be proved or disproved. And, you know, at the end of the day, any of this shit in science, it can't be proved either, because there's a certain level of acceptance. That's all it is. Scientists come to a certain level of general consensus where they'll accept certain results to be something. And this is one of the bones of contention that Eric Weinstein had with the current hierarchical system of these scientists. They've made themselves God. And what they do is, with their equations, they actually create riddles with inside mysteries wrapped up in enigmas. And they proclaim their godlike nature to anybody that doesn't understand their squiggly shit. And even Piers Morgan, with his low level of IQ, he pulled up on that one and pulled Sean Cowell up and said, Sean, you know, you're trying to make out that, you know, we could never ever know about this stuff because, you know, unless we are, you know, super scientific brains, then it's all over and above us and we should just accept it. And so Piers Morgan was saying, like, well, what came before the Big Bang? And then Sean Carroll's going, well, it's an infinite recess of big bangs, one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other. And then Piers Morgan goes, well, what came before any of that stuff? And then Sean Carroll said, well, by the very nature of infinite, nothing come before it. So you have to understand what the word infinite means. And so he made Piers Morgan look like an idiot. But Piers Morgan made Sean Carroll look like an idiot by just, it's kind of like give me one free miracle. Well, it's infinite. The Big Bang's infinite. You see, what these scientists do, they're always looking for something else to back up their nonsense. And I spoke about this a couple of days ago, or yesterday even, in one of the videos. It's like, well, when Schrodinger wrote his equation of the cat's dead or alive, then that perplexed scientists, intellectuals for 100 years, until in recent times they've started to come up with this many worlds theory, because another theory on top of a theory gets you out of the shit from the first theory, but it doesn't get you out of the shit of the second theory. But what gets you out of the shit of the second theory, you have a third theory. And so what do? You have turtles on the back of turtles infinitely. So that's what modern scientists are doing, and that's what Eric Weinstein's got a bone of contention about, because they're all steeped in their own bullying bullshit tactics, proclaiming that you know, they have the answers, or at least they're the closest to the answers. And when someone who's spiritual or religious or metaphysical comes along and just makes them look like fucking retards. You see, it's just different levels of thinking. And, you know, it's like quantum mechanics and Newtonian physics. They don't marry up. And yet they seem to be very, very perfectly acceptable in their own right. And then it's like the spiritual world doesn't marry up with the scientific world. The philosophical world doesn't marry up with the scientific world. Religion doesn't marry up with philosophy or fucking science or metaphysics or anything like that, because it's all premised on belief. Well, what the fuck is belief? You know, this is where we are with all this stuff, isn't it? Belief is just a hope. Belief is just a projection. Belief is just a last resort to cling to some sort of pretense of a semblance of reality when everything else fails us. That's what belief is. And so if you hate the world and you feel hard done to and you wonder why you're here and you wonder why you've got this shit life and everything, well, if you just fantasise about the Never Never Land, that might solve some of your problems. And then you can spend most of your time projecting yourself into the Never Never Land whilst your body is suffering in this what seems like an internal damnation. And so yes, Professor Dave, come and let me rip your new fucking arsehole, bro. So back to the other altar of mine then, the genius. Yes, the genius. Well, much of what I know stemmed from my intuition. It stemmed from my subjective experience around the world, how I have collated and compiled and analysed and added and subtracted all this stuff, and I've concluded certain things. And then when I've read other brilliant minds, I go, well, yeah, this person was there also. And then when you read lots of people that speak about entering into this enlightened state of consciousness, well, we all arrive at the similar sort of place. And it's like, it is actually a place. There's this enlightened parameter. It's like a band of frequency that when we have a higher state of consciousness, we enter into, and then we are privy to all the stuff the gurus and the shamans have been speaking about forever, and the philosophers and spiritualists and all that. We're picking from the same band of information, like the Akasha. That's what we're doing, people. And so when we think from that realm, we are thinking outside of this realm, and it seems, for all intents and purposes, to be a higher level, because there's a spiritual ascension, there's the intuitive ascension, there's the cosmic conscious ascension, from this tiny little myopic mind believing in this fucking illusion, which is just so easily blown out the water with a thinking mind. It's just so easy to destroy every single thing here, because all we've got to do is we've just got to say, well, what do you think's here? And then people start speaking in language and concepts and words, and then you just say to them, well, take those away. Just fucking, just let's have a, let's play a little game. You take your silly scientific concepts away, and what's here? Then that's it in the conversation, isn't it? You see, there's nothing provable outside of squiggly shit and words. And so, well, is that all that's here? Is that the constituents of the cosmos? Squiggly shit and words? In the beginning was the word. Really? Or was in the beginning a thought? So then if we supersede the words and the concepts and language, then we enter into the realm of thought. Well, when we're dreaming, we're thinking all different sorts of shit. I was having proper wacky dreams last night, and I'm wondering, where are these worlds? Where on earth are these worlds where things work like that? Parallel dimensions, parallel universes. I swear they exist, because I go to them every fucking night. I go to a parallel dimension where things are different and things work differently than in this dimension. There's all different sorts of crazy shit going on. And often there can just be kind of like subtle differences, but other times they can be very, very different, fucking bizarrely different. They just don't make any rational sense, and yet you find yourselves there, involved in them with entities, people that seem to consider that it's perfectly normal, and they obviously dwell in those realms 24/7, whereas when we dream and we enter them, we're just visitors. It's like going out into the astral. You can go out into the astral where weird shit happens and weird entities live, and it's all going on because you can go into their realm and they can come into your realm once we pass over this membrane of this frequency, you see. So does Professor Dave want to speak to me about that? Does Professor Dave want to speak to me about passing over these invisible, indecipherable, incalculable frequencies of consciousness? No, he doesn't. He's going to go, that's woo-woo, what do we'll call it? Oh, they always use one term, don't they? They always use one term to decry stuff like that. Because they're so insecure and scared. Yeah, maybe I'll think about this word. But yeah, so talking about archetypal counterparts, people. We're talking about characters, personas. We're talking about alter personalities, alter egos. We're looking at angels and demons and attachments and all those sort of things. Does Professor Dave want to talk to me about those? No, he doesn't. He hasn't got a fucking clue. He thinks it's pseudo fucking spirituality or pseudo philosophy, or you know, he likes to label everything outside of his tiny little mind as pseudo. Yeah. But you see, when you are an expanded consciousness, then you enter all these worlds, and these worlds become very, very real, very apparent, and you have lots of entities wanting to converse and wanting to be prominent within you, and then they'll come to the forefront, and then another one will come to the forefront. It's like a crowd. If you're dressed in the crowd, and then someone will shout over here, someone will shout over there, someone will come to the forefront there, and that's what it's like. So the crowd is the embodiment of spirits. And if you read about these spirits, and you know, you listen to necromantists and people like that, that you know, have held seances and spoken to entities and seen entities and felt entities and all this, well, if you've done that, And if you've opened up your consciousness to that, then you wouldn't doubt it. But what could you do? Can you see an atom? No, you can't. Can you see a quantum field? No, you can't. Can you see, let's say, nuclear fission? No, you can't. Have you got any real concept of 93 million miles away what the sun is supposed to be? No, you haven't. So when you look at it, it's bollocks, isn't it? Because it's so far flung from any reality we could possibly conjure up. We cannot embody it, we cannot feel it, we cannot experience it, we can do nothing with it except believe. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, it is scientism. And even those, I've listened to loads of these science programs where they're debating each other, and they even accept among themselves they don't know anything for sure. In actual fact, they don't know anything. They just hypothesize and speculate. And that's what they concede at the end of the day. When you've got these like science programs hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, the last one I watched was the 16th, and so there's probably been 18 of them now. And you've got all different sorts of physicists, and you always have a philosopher, and maybe you'll have someone like Deepak Chopra, who can be respected in the scientific realm because he does have degrees in science, and then also he's out there in the spiritual realm, so he covers a broad spectrum. And then they will all say, well, we're just all verbalising our own shit, really. That's all we're doing. None of us know anything conclusively. We can only ever go on our subjective experience, and our subjective experience could never be proven, and in actual fact we're not even sure of it ourselves, because our minds and our bodies work in very, very curious, peculiar ways. And so when we hear voices, or we have intuition, or we see apparitions, or we have dreams, or we have spiritual experiences, supernatural experiences, psychedelic experiences, well, what are they? It's mind, isn't it? It's just mind, people. And so, like I say, I'm always, resorting to the Occam's rays, or final analysis, because we've just got to really bring it back down to the most simple. And when you bring it down to the most simple, and you use your reduction, then you go, well, there's one thing that we can't reduce, and that's consciousness. It's ever pervasive, and there is one realm that you can go beyond consciousness, and I've been there, and that's pure awareness, in the state of pure awareness. But in the state of pure awareness, nothing exists except the awareness of awareness. And out of that then comes consciousness, out of that then comes thought, out of that then comes concepts and language and all those sort of things. So you see, it's kind of like the Big Bang Theory. You see, scientists have this Big Bang, which all this stuff came out of, and it was tiny, 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 tiny. Oh, really? Well, I've got my own version of the Big Bang, and that's consciousness. Everything banged out of consciousness. How did everything bang out of consciousness? Because consciousness started to think, and then thoughts created thoughts, created thoughts, created thoughts, and the cosmos is not expanding. The cosmos doesn't even fucking exist. It's just mind. What's expanding is mind, people, and consciousness is having an experience. And with all the dream material that we've got, like a world and a cosmos and aliens and cosmoses and trillions of galaxies and all that, they're just dreams in the mind of cosmic God consciousness. And the more pervasive these individuations of things become, like so-called humans, we're thinking more, thinking more, thinking more, and all these thoughts, they expand the consciousness. And so when you look at that, this is my metaphor. These are the things I've thought thought about in my brilliant brain. I just look, well, that's what they've done in the Bible. They've said things like that in the Bible. Then they've copied it in science, and then we can philosophize about things like this. So what are we all doing? We're all trying to make a silk purse out of a pig's ear. We're all trying to invent valid reasons for claiming our personal autonomy and our reality, when the reality is, if we're really, really honest with ourselves, there is no fucking reality. And everything that's going on is just being dreamt in the mind of God, for want of a better concept, people. We say God because it's this thing that we just don't know anything about, and we can project all different sorts of shit onto it. And when we don't understand the weather, we don't understand how the world does this and that, we go, oh, it's God's will. And so why does it appear that Schrodinger's cat is dead and alive? Well, it's God's will. You see, lots of people would say it's God's will, and so not think about it anymore. But then other people were like, I'm not too happy about God's will. Let's see if we can discover what God's will is. And then they go, well, what about if we just invent a theory that there's millions of other worlds, and then when we are presented with this dilemma, is the cat dead or alive, because it could be both in our hypothetical equation, but we don't like hypothetical equations. We like something that's solid, because that's what science is, and we can't be scientists if we've got a big fucking hole in our hypothesis. So therefore we need to invent something else. So what do? We think more thoughts, we expand our consciousness, and they call it expanding the fucking cosmos, or multiple universities and universities, same fucking crock of shit, and all these people. So when you're thinking along these lines, you can just boil everything down to a nonsense soup of play. Just play, and I'm happy with that. I don't need no answers. I don't need no truth. I don't need nothing to be solid. I don't need love to exist. I don't need compassion to be a thing. I don't need fucking any of it. I'm just looking at it all, enthralled, bewildered, entertained, and sometimes shocked and aghast, sometimes super stimulated in a beautiful euphoria. Just a billion things. There's a billion things going on with the Awake and Brave. And there's a part of me. What part? Well, wait, I can't tell at this moment in time. There's the part of me that's this fucking philosopher guy and the psychoanalyst that just puts the world to right every single day endlessly. I can't tell her that at this moment in time. I've got to leave that one right to the end, and then I'll lay my book on her, and then like, oh my goodness, how's she gonna feel? What's she gonna think? Oh my God. Yeah, it's all looking good, people. It's all looking great. What am I doing? I'm creating my reality. It took me many years to get here. It took me 3 years from the first consultation with the psychiatrist to get placed a therapist. 3 years. And then it took at least 3 years presenting my desires to the doctor, who then sent me to what's called a Vitamind, the Vitamines institution, which is kind of like very low-level therapy, and if they can't help you, then they will send you to someone else. And so I've been passed around. Nothing new to me. I was passed around all my life, from one children's home to the other. I'm cool with that. I'm just looking at them all, I'm observing them all, I'm assessing them all, I'm analysing them all, I'm gathering information, I'm doing my job as God, gathering up information, people. Why? Because it's fun. What are you doing?